Hey, so I'll be talking to you about interfaces today a little bit. It's not really going to be technical whatsoever. I'll just give some of the experiences that we have had with various types of interfaces and sort of what's coming next, what we see as coming next. Not going to make any judgment. You'll figure out sort of in a couple of years what's really prevailing in the marketplace from an interfaces perspective, but I'll just give you a brief overview. So, very quick about myself, CTO at EPAM Systems, have been in technology for many, many years at this point, and really responsible for some of the innovations, some of the technical capabilities that we have, including some of the work that we're doing in the next generation interfaces. I wanted to start from a case study of work that we have done for a company called Human Longevity, Inc. The point of this case study is really show you that this work is very, very real from sort of changing lives perspective, from an how interfaces sort of affect that. So we have been doing work for this company. If you know a guy by the name of Craig Venter, this is, by the way, him or avatar of him, in a sense. The guy who sequenced genome 20 or so years ago for the first time. So his latest invention, his latest company is effectively getting analytics of genomic work, effectively genomic sequencing and binomic sequencing and all of that from humans, and effectively convert that into making our lives, all of our lives, longer. One of the questions that they pose to themselves is how do they present this information to their customers? Now, if you can imagine, a typical sort of medical research is very complex from medical terms perspective. Something as innovative as this creates a report, 500 pages, that most doctors cannot even read because it's so advanced. Now, we work together with them to effectively figure out how to present it to an average folks like myself, like you and everyone else who is not really day-to-day into the medical terms and all of that, and then map specifically how this can sort of evolve and how it can affect your day-to-day life perspective. So one of the things that we noticed when we were working on the mobile experience, obviously, I mean, everyone is doing mobile and web and omnichannel in a sense, is that we didn't really have high enough fidelity, nor did we have high enough presentation abilities from a sort of 3D perspective of a human avatar, in this case, a human body, to be able to sort of exactly tell what is causing what and properly show it. So this was one of the first, and this was going on for several years at this point, 2.5 years or so. So this was one of the first areas when we started applying augmented reality type capabilities in production type settings, meaning toward a meaningful outcome where we were solving a real business challenge. We have been playing obviously with augmented reality, virtual reality, all the sort of different reality type applications for years before, but this was sort of the first production type, real business changing experience. So we were able effectively to take HoloLens, I believe it was, not sure. And we're able to effectively take a human body, apply augmented reality presentation for that, and being able to sort of present all of the different layers of an organism and being able to convert that into something meaningful, something that, again, average person can take and really understand how a particular genomic indicator, right? Let's say someone is, because of the genomic indicators, might have diabetes or something like that. How can that impact the various parts of the body, and being able to effectively do something about it? Exercise daily, do proper diet, and stuff like that. Then we had other applications. I'll go through a couple of them very quickly in augmented reality. So this was a training exercise for an oil company well, there are two applications, so I'll go to both of them very quickly. One of them was training exercise, the other one was actual self-drilling capability, where in augmented reality mode, we were able to model well, an oil well, being able to plan all of the work that's required for drilling of that, and then in real time, when the drilling is actually happening, which is days and weeks and months of effort sometimes, being able to sort of visualize it in real time in augmented reality and have teams of scientists and drillers effectively in an oil company work with that as well. Another application was with also an oil company where they were faced with a challenge. They had thousands and thousands of people coming for work, sort of new hires, and they need an ability to train them. Now, as you realize, taking people to a rig, to an oil rig, somewhere in the ocean or something like that, it's actually quite expensive and very, very dangerous. So they were looking at alternative methods to sort of save the costs and make it sort of more higher fidelity and stuff like that. And there's like many applications from a training perspective for that. But we were developing this capability for them, and this has been in production for several months at this point, where at this point people that they hire go to a training several days, full representation in augmented reality of an oil rig. They would go, explore everything, and they put almost all people that start with that particular company through this training, from sort of the engineers and the drillers and other stuff, sort of technical stuff, to lawyers and all of the people that negotiate contracts and etc., which they were not able to do before, obviously, because of the cost. Another application of augmented reality is if you think what will be the next generation experience at home. For instance, watching a sports event or anything else, a movie, it doesn't really matter. What that experience would be, we believe that some of that at least will be based on augmented reality capabilities. Some of this will be based on virtual reality capabilities. A lot of this will be very much focused on sort of deep learning of the sequence, of the motion sequence effectively that is happening in the movie, identifying objects and being able to apply specific metadata to the objects and being able to pinpoint on a particular player or sports car or whatever that is, what that particular characteristics in real time of that are. So one thing that I wanted to point before going to the next part is that in reality the technology today, while all of this is sort of very cool for us engineers to deal with, the technology is not really there yet from a everyday perspective. So this is, while again, you can see some people playing with HoloLenses outside, we do not expect anyone to walk with HoloLens in a street or in fact even sit at home for a long period of time with a HoloLens on their head and sort of enjoy a movie. It's cumbersome. The hardware itself is not perfect. Batteries run out in about 60 to 80 minutes or something like that. So it's not really practical from many perspectives, but it's certainly evolving, and we will see a significant sort of uptake of that in maybe a year, 18 months, 24 months from now. The other stuff that is happening, I'm sure most of you are aware, is all of the technology change, sort of the increase in CPU capacities, CPU cycle speeds, and stuff like that, increase in storage abilities, and sort of pervasiveness of cloud services and stuff like that, allows us to be able to process vast amount of information that we're not, arguably, were able to do before. From a voice recognition perspective, gestures and stuff like that. Again, very early on from an adoption perspective, but some of this is already there. So I'm sure many of you played with chatbots at this point in time. Again, something that is very much of a buzz in the industry right now, especially the text chat, sort of the chatbot interfaces, meaning the text chatbots. There are many applications to them in retail industry, in services industry, and stuff like that. We have been developing quite a few of them over the past year and a half or so. This is one example. This is another example. Sort of the first one was through e-commerce chatbot where you can actually buy stuff. This one is more of a helping you to select a particular product or augment whatever you have in the shopping cart with a particular things that you can add to that shopping cart to better sort of experience the product. And it goes sort of to rudimentary things, right? You want to buy a grill, you need a gas for that grill, or you need coals for that grill, or like a fork to flip the burgers or whatever that is. So there is quite a few applications of that. It's also very interesting evolution that is happening with chatbots with sort of social integration, where you can go to effectively a company website that sells tickets and being able to actually manage that as a team, as a group of friends, when this platform actually based on Facebook's integrations and everything like that knows who your friends are, what are the preferences of each of the subgroups of your friends, and being able to recommend to them in real time based on your selections where they might want to go with you to the next event. And this is again sort of one of these capabilities that will be very much available in the market in the next 12 months or so. I mean, we expect quite a few platforms out there to support chatbot capabilities. This applies both to chat, sort of the text, and to voice recognition as well. Voice recognition is a little bit behind in that sense, but it's coming maybe 6 or 12 months later. You have probably all seen Alexa at this point, or leveraged the Alexa API behind this. This has been applied, so Alexa is obviously integrated with many different things at this point. We have been working in the healthcare space to be able to integrate Alexa capabilities with applications that actually track health of people. So for instance, in this case, someone has a condition where he bleeds more than normal, so he can use Alexa to record that instead of going to some form of a mobile app or something like that without obviously needing, I mean, people don't think about going to a mobile app when they're bleeding, so this becomes much more effective in recording in real time the conditions that people have. And obviously from a service perspective, chatbots are pervasive. I mean, they have been out there for quite some time. Many of them are powered by people. Behind them, there are large services companies that provide vast amount of resources to be able to power these capabilities by people. But then lately, we see quite a lot of adoption of fully automated chatbots from a services perspective. Hey, I need to change my password. Okay, what's your mother's maiden name? This is this and this. Okay, type your new password, done. You don't need any people for that. This is very simplistic, straightforward process that can be fully automated from that perspective. And then in some of the more advanced areas, this is a problem. This is probably not going to production very soon because it has quite a few implications from a Federal Drug Administration perspective and sort of the equivalent bodies out there. Where you need to start actually taking responsibilities, or we as technology companies or the companies that provide the services have to take responsibilities over what recommendations we are giving. Now, one thing to do that in a retail environment where, okay, I mean, I got mistaken from a part perspective, or like I bought a different bike, I can return it and stuff like that. The other is make a mistake in recommendation of a drug usage. And potentially killing a person. Another aspect of interfaces is obviously somewhat overlooked often, but many of us have smartwatches on our hands and stuff like that. So wearable technology is yet another interface It's certainly out there. It's gaining more and more popularity in terms of what can be done with the technology to be able to really interface with people without them even paying attention. I mean, I'm not just talking about the screen of a watch or something like that, where an interface is written, but rather the other interfaces that, the synaptic interfaces, the motion interfaces and stuff like that, that can be powered by these capabilities. This is just an example of a work that we have been doing on stress technology with galvanic skin response. Again, nothing new and revolutionary from that perspective, but this is actually gaining quite a lot of momentum in various industries and sort of very established industries, including automotive industry, healthcare, obviously, and many, many others. Talking about automotive, so interfaces in automotive are changing rapidly, and I'm not talking about sort of the transition to web browsers and some of the displays in a car. I'm talking about motion interfaces, complete change in terms of how car perceives the driver and all of the people in the car, right? Buttons are going away for the most part. In the new sort of designs that are coming out. Again, this will be coming out like in what, 5, 6, 7 years from now, just because of the cycles in automotive, although in China it might come out a little bit earlier. But there's quite a bit of happening there with motion interfaces, meaning waving hands or dismissing sort of messages and stuff like that, going left and right. I actually have Navdi in one of my cars. It's actually a very cool invention. You should check it out. Where all of the interaction effectively happens with most of the interaction happens with motion. And then video-based interaction, where the video streaming from the car actually recognizes what you expect it to do, or actually reacts to conditions like, for instance, drowsiness, sleepiness, or tiredness and stuff like that, and actually makes adjustments the way the car behaves toward you. Another area that is coming a little bit further on, and again, you'll be the judge when it actually makes it real into production. It's getting there with the things like, again, Alexa and Nest and other capabilities, but it's not quite there yet. People are talking quite a bit in the medical space about injectable technologies, or all of this concept of cyber-physical connectivity, right, where we can effectively connect physical things like humans or power dumps or like anything out there to a technology and being able to sort of better interface with it. The most extreme, from the way we see it at least at this point, is the injectable technology, sort of the nanotechnologies that already today are being tried to be injected into humans to deliver drugs. At some point, we will see application of that where this will be communication devices that are effectively injected into us to be able to better convey messages from us to a computer. And at that point, we can consider ourselves all one big computer, or from a computer to us in a sense where we'll completely change the way we interface with technology today. Just think about this. I mean, you think about something and it can actually be done from a technical perspective, right? When you have nanotechnology embedded into your brain and being able to communicate messages and stuff like that. Again, this is very early on, but I would not bet that it will take more than a decade to actually get there in one way or another. And by the way, it's not only about people connectivity. There is quite a bit of work being done today, including by Microsoft, for instance. They published a paper on that several years ago. We have been doing quite a bit of this work in the medical space as well, being able to create interfaces for animals, for instance, and being able to sort of, both from a connectivity perspective, sort of understanding what animals are at a particular moment, to optimizing feeding processes, optimizing recreation processes, procreation processes, and many, many other things that can be optimized. But also actually leveraging some of the more advanced technologies to be able to connect the animals and read various various indicators from the animal to be able, for instance, to open a feeding basket for the cow to eat from automatically when it actually feels hungry. We have been doing this for quite a bit of time. I mentioned this before, and this is some of the accolades. I'm not going to stay long on the slide. But this is all real. So, right, some of this technology is coming in maybe a few years, or maybe 5, maybe 10. But the way sort of we need to be looking at interfaces is changing very, very rapidly, and this is something that I wanted to share with you. Thank you very much.